"You're not really my daughter. You never were." My mother said those words to me on Christmas morning, standing in the kitchen of the house I'd cleaned for 15 years, while my sister opened a $12,000 Cartier bracelet in the living room. What she didn't know is that I'd already figured that out 3 weeks earlier, and I'd spent every day since then planning exactly how to use that information. My name is Sutton Mercer. I'm 27 years old, and for a quarter of a century, I believed I was the defective child, the disappointing daughter, the one who simply wasn't good enough to deserve love. I scrubbed toilets while my sister studied surgery. I slept in a basement while she slept in a princess bedroom. I was told over and over that some children deserve more than others, and I was the one who deserved less. Then a $99 DNA test from a website I found through a Black Friday ad revealed a secret that had been buried for 27 years. A secret that explained everything. A secret that would burn my family's carefully constructed lies to the ground. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning. The real beginning. The day I was born, or rather, the day I wasn't supposed to exist. The Mercers were Old Money, Connecticut. Greenwich, specifically, the kind of town where every family has a summer house in the Hamptons and a winter condo in Aspen, where children attend prep schools with names that sound like law firms, and where appearances matter more than anything else in the world. My father, Preston Mercer III, was a partner at one of Manhattan's most prestigious investment banks. My mother, Cordelia, was a former Miss Connecticut who had traded her crown for a wedding ring and dedicated her life to being the perfect society wife. They had the perfect house, the perfect marriage, the perfect life. And then they had me. I was born on March 15th, 1997, at Greenwich Hospital. According to my birth certificate, I was Sutton Elizabeth Mercer, daughter of Preston and Cordelia, younger sister to Genevieve, who was 3 years old at the time. That birth certificate was a lie. But I wouldn't learn that for another 27 years. My earliest memories are of being different, of not fitting in, of watching my mother look at Genevieve with adoration and look at me with something that resembled barely concealed disgust. Genevieve had golden hair, like our mother. I had dark hair, almost black. Genevieve had delicate features and a petite frame. I was taller, broader, with a face that didn't match anyone in the family photos. Genevieve was enrolled in ballet, piano, French lessons, and etiquette classes before she could read. I was given hand-me-downs and told to play quietly in my room. When I was 5, I asked my mother why Genevieve got to take ballet. "Because Genevieve is graceful," she said, not looking up from her magazine. "You're not built for ballet, Sutton. Some children are meant to shine. Others are meant to support." I didn't understand what she meant then. I would eventually. When I was 7, Genevieve got a bedroom renovation. Pink walls, a canopy bed, a walk-in closet filled with clothes that cost more than most families' monthly rent. I asked if I could get new bedding. My comforter had a hole in it. "We don't have the budget for that," my mother said. "Money doesn't grow on trees, Sutton." 3 days later, she bought Genevieve a pony. When I was 10, I started to understand my role in the family. I wasn't a daughter. I was staff. It began small. Setting the table, loading the dishwasher, taking out the trash. Normal chores for a kid, I thought. Every family has chores. But then it grew. By 12, I was doing all the laundry. By 13, I was cleaning the bathrooms. By 14, I was responsible for vacuuming, mopping, dusting, and scrubbing every surface in a 6,000-square-foot house. Genevieve's only responsibility was being perfect. And she was very, very good at it. She was valedictorian at Greenwich Academy, captain of the tennis team, president of the student council. She had a smile that made adults melt and a resume that made Ivy League admissions officers weep with joy. I went to the public school across town. I had decent grades, mostly A's and B's, but no one cared. I wasn't encouraged to join clubs or sports. I wasn't taken to SAT prep courses or college visits. When I asked about applying to universities, my mother laughed. College. She looked at me like I'd suggested I might sprout wings and fly. Sutton, be realistic. College is for children with potential. You're better suited for practical work. What does that mean? It means you should be grateful we've kept you this long. I was 16. I didn't understand what she meant, but the words lodged in my chest like a splinter, working their way deeper every year. When Genevieve graduated from Greenwich Academy, my parents threw a party that cost $50,000. A tent on the lawn, a 5-piece band, champagne that cost more per bottle than I'd ever held in my hands. I served hors d'oeuvres. I wasn't a guest at my own sister's graduation party. I was the help. I wore a white shirt and black pants, carried trays of crab cakes and bruschetta, and watched my family celebrate without me. That night, after everyone had gone home and I was scrubbing champagne stains out of the carpet at 2 a.m., I made a decision. I would leave. As soon as I turned 18, I would get out of this house and never look back. But then my father died. It happened suddenly. A heart attack at his desk, 6 months before my 18th birthday. One moment he was reviewing quarterly reports and the next he was gone. I don't know if I loved my father. He was never cruel to me the way my mother was, but he was never kind either. He was simply absent. A figure who came and went, who worked late and traveled often, who looked at me occasionally with an expression I couldn't read. At his funeral, I cried. Not because I missed him, but because I realized I'd never had the chance to know him. And now I never would. After the funeral, my mother called me into the study. "Sutton, we need to discuss the future." I thought maybe things would change. Maybe with my father gone, she'd see me differently. Maybe she'd finally. "Your father's death has created some financial complications," she said. "The estate is substantial, but there are also substantial debts. I need to be strategic about allocating resources." What does that mean? It means Genevieve's education is the priority. She's been accepted to Johns Hopkins for pre-med. The full program, undergraduate, medical school, residency, will cost approximately $400,000. I've allocated her trust fund to cover it. What about my trust fund? My mother looked at me with something that might have been pity if it had contained any warmth. "Sutton, you don't have a trust fund. You never did." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What?" "Your father and I made certain decisions when you were born. Decisions about resource allocation. Genevieve's future was always the priority. You." She paused. "You were different." "Different how?" "That's not a conversation we need to have." She straightened some papers on the desk. "What I need from you is a commitment. I need you to stay here and help maintain the household. I'll pay you, of course, minimum wage, just like any domestic employee. You'll have room and board. It's a fair arrangement." "Room and board?" "Mom, I live here. I'm your daughter." She looked at me for a long moment. Something flickered in her eyes, guilt, maybe, or fear. And then it was gone. "The basement apartment is available. You can move your things down there. It's more appropriate." "The basement? You want me to live in the basement?" "I want you to be realistic about your situation, Sutton. Some children are meant for greatness. Others are meant to support that greatness. The sooner you accept your role, the easier your life will be." I should have left that night. I should have packed a bag and walked out the door and never looked back. But I was 17. I had no money, no car, no job, no plan. I had nowhere to go and no one to help me get there. So I stayed. For the next 10 years, I lived in the basement of my family's Greenwich mansion. I cleaned their house, did their laundry, maintained their grounds. I was paid $7.25 an hour, minimum wage, and given a small room with a window that looked out at the foundation. I watched Genevieve graduate from Johns Hopkins. I watched her get accepted to medical school. I watched her become Dr. Genevieve Mercer, orthopedic surgeon, while I scrubbed her childhood bathroom and changed her old sheets when she came home for holidays. I watched my mother spend $400,000 on Genevieve's education and refuse to buy me a winter coat when mine fell apart. I watched and I cleaned and I stayed silent, because some children deserve more than others. And I had been told, my entire life, that I was the one who deserved less. I believed it. That was the worst part. I actually believed I was worth less than my sister. That something was fundamentally wrong with me. That I deserved the basement and the minimum wage and the hand-me-downs because I simply wasn't good enough for anything else. Then came the DNA test. It was November 2023. Black Friday. I was scrolling through my phone during my 15-minute lunch break. Yes, I got a lunch break. My mother was very generous. When I saw an ad for Ancestry Gene. $99 for a complete DNA analysis. Ethnicity estimates, health reports, and connections to relatives around the world. I don't know why I did it. Curiosity, maybe. Or boredom. Or some subconscious sense that there was an answer out there waiting to be found. I ordered the kit with money I'd been secretly saving for years. A few dollars here and there, hidden in an envelope under my mattress. It arrived a week later. I spit in the tube, sealed it up, and mailed it back. And then I forgot about it. Until December 5th, when my results came in. I was cleaning the upstairs bathroom when my phone buzzed. Your Ancestry Gene results are ready. I sat down on the edge of the bathtub and opened the app. The first thing I saw was the ethnicity estimate. 47% Italian, 32% Eastern European, 15% Ashkenazi Jewish, 6% other. I stared at the screen. The Mercers were English and German. That's what I'd been told my whole life. Old English stock, with a bit of German on my grandmother's side. Not a drop of Italian or Jewish ancestry anywhere in the family tree. I scrolled down to the relative matches. And that's when I saw it. Close family match. Margaret Bellini. Relationship. Half-sister. I had never heard the name Margaret Bellini in my life. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped the phone. I read the words again. Half-sister. Not cousin. Not distant relative. Half-sister. That meant we shared a parent. Which meant one of my parents wasn't who I thought they were. I sat on the edge of that bathtub for 20 minutes, staring at the screen, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. The cleaning forgotten. The world forgotten. Everything I thought I knew about myself crumbling into dust. I clicked on her profile. There was a photo. A woman about my age, with dark hair and features that looked startlingly familiar. Features that looked like mine. The same nose. The same cheekbones. The same slightly asymmetrical eyes that I'd always hated in photographs. I was looking at a stranger, who could have been my twin. I sent her a message before I could talk myself out of it. Hi, my name is Sutton. Ancestry Gene says we're half-sisters. I don't understand how that's possible. Can we talk? She responded within an hour. Oh my God. I've been waiting for this message for 10 years. Her name was Maggie. She was 29 years old, 2 years older than me, and she lived in Queens. She'd taken the Ancestry Gene test in 2013, hoping to find her biological father. Instead, she'd found me. We talked for 6 hours that first night. I sat in my basement room with the door locked, whispering into my phone so Cordelia wouldn't hear, as Maggie told me the story that would change everything. I was born in 1994, she told me, her voice shaking. My mother's name was Daniela Bellini. She was a housekeeper for a wealthy family in Greenwich, Connecticut. She got pregnant by the man of the house. When his wife found out, she fired my mother and threatened to destroy her if she ever came forward. My mother was an undocumented immigrant. She had no power. So she kept quiet, raised me on her own, and never told anyone who my father was. Where's your mother now? I asked. She passed away in 2018. Breast cancer. Maggie's voice caught. She told me the truth about my father on her deathbed. She made me promise to find him. To find the truth. That's why I took the DNA test in the first place. And you found him? I found his name. I found evidence. But I could never prove it. Not until you. Who was your father? I asked, but I already knew. The pieces were falling into place with horrible clarity. Preston Mercer, Maggie said. Preston Mercer 3. My father. Our father. I sat in my basement room, surrounded by cleaning supplies and hand-me-down furniture, and I listened to Maggie tell me the rest of the story. Daniela Bellini had worked for the Mercers from 1992 to 1994. She was young, beautiful, and vulnerable. Preston Mercer was wealthy, powerful, and married to a woman who cared more about appearances than affection. The affair was inevitable. When Daniela got pregnant, she thought Preston would help her. Instead, his wife found out. Cordelia Mercer. My mother. Cordelia didn't divorce Preston. That would have been a scandal. Instead, she made Daniela disappear, paid her off, threatened her with deportation, and erased her from the Mercer world entirely. But Cordelia was nothing if not strategic. She knew that Preston's infidelity had exposed a weakness in their marriage. She knew that she needed leverage. Insurance. So when she discovered in 1996 that she couldn't have any more children of her own, a medical condition she kept secret from everyone, she made a different kind of deal.
She adopted me.
Not legally. Not through proper channels. Through a private arrangement with another woman Preston had gotten pregnant. A one-night stand he barely remembered, a woman who wanted nothing to do with a baby she couldn't afford. Cordelia took me in, put her name on my birth certificate, and raised me as her own. But I was never her own. I was evidence of her husband's failures. I was a reminder, every single day, that her perfect marriage was built on lies. And she hated me for it. Why would she keep you at all? Maggie asked. If she hated you so much, why not just let you go into the system? I thought about that question for a long time, and I realized the answer was the cruelest truth of all. Control, I said finally. Cordelia Mercer is all about control. If she let me go into foster care, there was a chance I'd resurface someday. A chance someone would connect me to Preston. A chance the truth would come out in a way she couldn't manage. But if she raised me herself, she could control the narrative. She could make sure I never asked questions, never looked for answers, never became a threat. She kept you as a prisoner, Maggie said quietly. She kept me as a servant who didn't even know she was a servant. I felt tears streaming down my face. I thought I was her daughter. I thought there was something wrong with me. I spent 27 years trying to earn love from a woman who was never capable of giving it. She hated you because you weren't hers, Maggie said quietly. And she hated me because I existed at all. We're both victims of the same lie, Sutton. We're both daughters of a man who couldn't keep his promises. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my basement room, surrounded by the evidence of 27 years of mistreatment, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Anger. Not the dull, suppressed anger I'd carried for years. Not the quiet resentment of someone who has accepted their lot in life. This was something else. Something hot and bright and dangerous. I had been treated like garbage because of a secret I didn't know. I had been told I was worth less than my sister because of a lie I had no part in creating. I had spent 10 years cleaning toilets and living in a basement because my mother, no, the woman who raised me, couldn't look at me without seeing her husband's betrayal. And she had never told me. She had let me believe I was defective. She had let me believe I deserved less. She had let me spend my entire life thinking there was something fundamentally wrong with me. There wasn't. There was something fundamentally wrong with her. Over the next 3 weeks, I did research. I found my biological mother. Her name was Patricia Delaney. She'd been 19 when she got pregnant, a waitress at a restaurant where Preston Mercer had stopped for coffee after a business meeting. He'd charmed her, slept with her, and never called her again. When she found out she was pregnant, she panicked. She was young, broke, and alone. She considered abortion, but couldn't afford it. She considered keeping the baby, but couldn't afford that either. Then Cordelia Mercer showed up at her apartment. Cordelia offered Patricia $50,000 to hand over the baby and sign away all parental rights. No questions asked. No contact ever again. Patricia took the money. She was desperate. She thought she was giving her baby a better life. She had no idea what that better life would look like. I found Patricia through a record search. She was 46 now, living in Florida, working as a dental hygienist. She'd never married. Never had other children. I called her on December 15th. Hello, Ms. Delaney? My name is Sutton. I think you might be my biological mother. There was a long silence, then a sound that might have been a sob. I've been waiting for this call for 27 years, she said. We talked for 4 hours. She told me everything. The affair, the pregnancy, the deal with Cordelia. She told me she'd regretted giving me up every single day of her life. She told me she'd tried to find me once, in 2010, but Cordelia had threatened her with lawyers and she'd backed off. I thought I was giving you a good life, Patricia said through tears. I thought a wealthy family would give you opportunities one never could. I had no idea they would treat you like that. If I had known. You couldn't have known, I said. No one could have known. But someone did know. Cordelia knew. She knew exactly what she was doing when she took me in. She knew she would never love me. She knew she would spend 27 years punishing me for my father's sins.
And she did it anyway.
By Christmas, I had a plan. Maggie helped me put it together. She'd spent 10 years waiting for a chance to expose the Mercers. Now she had a partner. We gathered evidence. My DNA results. Maggie's DNA results. The records of Patricia Delaney's payment. The birth certificate that listed Cordelia as my mother when she wasn't. The financial documents showing that I had no trust fund while Genevieve's was worth over $1 million. We found a lawyer. A good one. Someone who specialized in cases involving inheritance fraud and family deception. And we picked a date for the revelation. Christmas morning. The Mercers always did Christmas big. It was tradition. The whole family gathered at the Greenwich house. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone who mattered in Cordelia's carefully curated world. It was the one day a year when appearances were everything. It was the perfect day to tear those appearances apart. I woke up early on Christmas morning. For the last time, I cleaned the house from top to bottom. I set up the decorations, prepared the breakfast spread, arranged the presents under the tree. Then I got dressed, not in my usual cleaning clothes, but in a dress I'd bought secretly with my savings. Red silk. The nicest thing I'd ever owned. I walked upstairs and joined the family in the living room. The scene was exactly what you'd expect from a Mercer Christmas. A 12-foot tree decorated with heirloom ornaments. Presents wrapped in coordinated paper and ribbon. The smell of fresh coffee and cinnamon rolls from the kitchen. Carols playing softly from hidden speakers. And family, aunts, uncles, cousins, arranged around the room like props in a photograph. Everyone beautiful. Everyone polished. Everyone playing their part in the annual performance of Mercer Family Perfection. Everyone except me. Cordelia saw me first. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. Sutton, what are you wearing? And why aren't you in the kitchen? I'm taking the day off, I said. Excuse me? You heard me. I'm not working today. I'm celebrating Christmas. Like a member of the family. The room went quiet. Aunts stopped mid-conversation. Cousins looked up from their phones. Uncle Thomas, who had never said more than 3 words to me in my entire life, actually set down his mimosa. Genevieve looked up from her pile of presents. Sutton, don't cause a scene. It's embarrassing. Oh, I haven't even started causing a scene, I said. But thank you for your concern, sister. Or should I say, half-sister? The room went silent. Cordelia's face went pale. What did you say? I took a DNA test, I said. Ancestry gene. $99. Best money I ever spent. I pulled out my phone and held up the screen. According to this, I'm 47% Italian, 32% Eastern European, and 15% Ashkenazi Jewish. Funny, isn't it? Since the Mercers are supposedly English and German. This is ridiculous, Cordelia said, but her voice was shaking. Those tests are notoriously inaccurate. The tests also found a relative match, I continued. A half-sister named Margaret Bellini. Do you remember Daniela Bellini, mother? The housekeeper you fired in 1994 because she was pregnant with Dad's baby? Genevieve's mouth dropped open. What? Maggie is 2 years older than me. Same father, different mothers. Her mother was Daniela. My mother. I looked at Cordelia. My mother was a 19-year-old waitress named Patricia Delaney. A woman you paid $50,000 to hand me over like I was a piece of furniture. Cordelia stood up. Sutton, this is not the time or place. When is the time? When is the place?
My voice was rising.
I didn't care. You've had 27 years to tell me the truth. You chose to keep me in the dark. You chose to treat me like garbage. You chose to let me believe I was worth less than your real daughter, because I wasn't your real daughter at all. I raised you, Cordelia said, her voice cold. I gave you a home. I gave you food and shelter, and you gave me a basement and minimum wage. I was shouting now. You spent $400,000 on Genevieve's education and made me clean her bathroom. You told me, to my face, that some children deserve more than others. You made me believe there was something wrong with me. The aunts and uncles were staring. The cousins were frozen with their presents half unwrapped. Genevieve looked like she might be sick. There is something wrong with you, Cordelia said quietly. You're not mine. You never were. I took you in as a favor to your father, to clean up his mess, and this is how you repay me. A favor. I laughed. You took me in as punishment. Every time you looked at me, you saw his betrayal. And you made me pay for it. Every single day for 27 years. The front door opened. Maggie walked in. She was wearing a green dress, her dark hair pulled back, her features so similar to mine that even Genevieve gasped when she saw us standing next to each other. Who the hell are you? Cordelia demanded. I'm Margaret Bellini, Maggie said. But you can call me what I really am, your husband's firstborn daughter. She held up a folder. And I'm here to deliver some documents. Legal documents. From our attorney. Cordelia's face went gray. Maggie handed the folder to me. I opened it and read aloud. This is a formal notice of intent to pursue legal action against Cordelia Mercer for fraud, misrepresentation, and financial exploitation. The complaint alleges that Mrs. Mercer knowingly misrepresented herself as Sutton Mercer's biological mother, denied Sutton Mercer access to inheritance funds that should have been held in trust, and used Sutton Mercer as unpaid domestic labor under conditions that may constitute human trafficking. Human trafficking? Cordelia scoffed. This is absurd. Is it? I looked at her. You brought a child into your home under false pretenses. You denied her education, opportunity, and fair wages. You forced her to work in exchange for basic shelter. Our lawyer thinks a jury might see that differently than you do. I turned to the rest of the family. The aunts and uncles who had always looked at me with faint confusion, never quite understanding why I was different. The cousins who had grown up with every advantage while I had grown up with none. I'm also filing a claim against my father's estate, I said. As his biological daughter, I'm entitled to an equal share of his inheritance. The same share Genevieve received. The same share Maggie is entitled to. Genevieve stood up. You can't do this. That's my inheritance. I worked for that. You worked for it? I turned to face her. Genevieve, I've spent 10 years cleaning your toilet.
10 years doing your laundry.
10 years maintaining the house you grew up in while you went to medical school on money that should have been partly mine. Don't talk to me about work. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time in her life, Genevieve Mercer had nothing to say. I looked at Cordelia. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to settle this quietly, or we're going to take it public. Every newspaper in Connecticut, every society blog, every person you've ever tried to impress will know exactly what kind of mother you really are. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I stepped closer. You spent 27 years trying to break me. You almost succeeded, but I'm still standing. And now I have something you can't take away from me. What's that? The truth. Cordelia looked at me for a long moment. I saw fear in her eyes. Real fear. The kind that comes when you realize your carefully constructed lies are finally collapsing. What do you want? She asked quietly. I want what I'm owed. My share of the inheritance. Approximately $2.3 million based on current estate valuations. I want an additional $800,000 in compensation for a decade of unpaid labor, back wages calculated at a fair market rate, not the minimum wage you insulted me with. And I want an apology. An apology? A written apology, signed and notarized, admitting what you did and why you did it. I paused. I want my children and grandchildren to know the truth. I want a document they can read that explains exactly what kind of person you are. Cordelia's jaw tightened. And if I refuse? Then we go public. And we go to court. And we let a jury of your peers decide what you owe me. I smiled. Your choice. The room was silent. Then Genevieve spoke. Mother, just give her what she wants. Her voice was tired, defeated. This family has enough secrets. I don't want to spend the rest of my life fighting about it. Cordelia turned to her real daughter, her only real daughter, the one she had loved and cherished and invested everything in. You're taking her side? I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm just tired. Genevieve looked at me. Sutton, I didn't know about any of this. I knew Mom treated you differently, but I thought. She trailed off. I don't know what I thought. I didn't want to see it. You didn't want to see it because seeing it would have required you to do something about it, I said. But you're right. You didn't create this situation.
Cordelia did.
I looked at my mother. No, at Cordelia. The woman who had raised me without loving me. The woman who had punished me for sins I didn't commit. You have until January 15th to respond to our legal filing. After that, we pursue every avenue available to us. I turned and walked toward the door. Maggie fell into step beside me. Sutton, wait. I turned. Genevieve was standing behind me, her face streaked with tears. I'm sorry, she said. I know it's not enough. I know nothing I say can make up for any of it. But I'm sorry. I looked at her for a long moment. Thank you, I said finally. That's more than your mother ever gave me. I walked out of the Greenwich mansion for the last time. The settlement came through in February. Cordelia didn't fight. Her lawyers made a few initial objections, claims that my documentation was insufficient, that the DNA evidence was circumstantial, that my labor had been voluntary, but when our attorneys started filing motions for discovery that would have exposed decades of family secrets, she folded. I think she knew that a public trial would destroy what was left of her reputation, and reputation was all she had ever really cared about. The Greenwich social scene runs on appearances. One scandal, and you're finished. One lawsuit alleging that you kept your husband's illegitimate daughter as unpaid household help, and you're not just finished. You're legendary. In the worst possible way.
So she paid.
I received $2.3 million from my father's estate, my rightful inheritance, 27 years late. The lawyers had calculated what Genevieve received versus what I should have received, adjusted for interest and inflation, and presented Cordelia with a number she couldn't argue with. I received an additional $650,000 in compensation for unpaid labor. 10 years of work at what a professional housekeeper in Greenwich would have earned, minus the minimal wages I'd actually received. And I received a signed, notarized letter from Cordelia Mercer admitting that she had misled me about my parentage and treated me unfairly as a result. That letter hangs on my wall now. Not because I want to look at it every day, but because I want to remember. I want to remember what I survived. I want to remember that I got out. Maggie received a settlement as well. Not as much. Her mother had signed away her parental rights, which complicated things legally, but enough to pay off her student loans and put a down payment on a house. We're close now, Maggie and I, sisters in every way that matters. We have dinner together every Sunday. We call each other when things go wrong. We're building the family we should have had all along. Patricia Delaney, my biological mother, flew up from Florida for my 28th birthday. It was the first time we'd met in person. She cried when she saw me. I cried too. You look just like I did at your age, she said, holding my face in her hands. I'm so sorry I gave you up. I thought I was doing the right thing. You did what you had to do, I said. The wrong thing was what happened after. We're building a relationship now. Slowly, carefully. She's not the mother I grew up with. But then again, neither was Cordelia. At least Patricia wanted to know me. At least Patricia regretted the years we lost. That's more than I can say for the woman who raised me. I haven't spoken to Cordelia since Christmas.
I don't plan to.
Some relationships aren't worth saving. Some bridges need to stay burned. Genevieve reached out in March. She wanted to meet for coffee, to talk, to try to understand what had happened and why. I agreed, not because I forgave her, but because I was curious. I've been in therapy since Christmas, she told me over lattes at a cafe in Manhattan, trying to process everything. Our whole family was built on lies, Sutton. Everything I believed about our childhood, about our parents, about myself, all of it was based on a lie. Welcome to my world, I said. I know. She stared into her cup. I keep thinking about all the times I could have said something. All the times I saw Mom treat you badly and just accepted it. I told myself it wasn't my business, that there must be a reason, that you must have done something to deserve it. No one deserves what I went through. I know that now. She looked up at me. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking for a chance. To be your sister. For real this time. I thought about it for a long moment. I can't promise forgiveness, I said finally. But I can promise honesty. If we're going to have any kind of relationship, it has to be based on truth. No more pretending. No more looking the other way. I can do that. Then let's see where this goes. We meet for coffee, once a month now. It's awkward and stilted, and sometimes painful. But it's real. And real is more than I ever had before. I moved to Brooklyn with my settlement money. I bought a small apartment with a view of the Manhattan skyline. I enrolled in college, finally at 28, getting the education I was denied. I'm studying social work. I want to help kids like me, kids who grew up in homes where they weren't wanted, where they were treated as less than human, where they were punished for things beyond their control. I want to be the person I needed when I was growing up. The person who sees the invisible children and tells them they matter. Because they do. We all do. If you're watching this, if you recognize yourself in my story, the unwanted one, the invisible one, the one who was told they deserved less, I want you to know something. The people who hurt you were wrong. You are not defective. You are not worthless. You are not less than anyone else. The problem was never you. The problem was them. My mother, no, Cordelia, spent 27 years trying to convince me I was garbage. She almost succeeded. I almost believed her. But a $99 DNA test showed me the truth. And the truth set me free. I was never the disappointing daughter. I was never the defective child. I was just a girl caught in someone else's lie, punished for someone else's sins, paying the price for secrets I didn't know existed. Now I know. And knowing changed everything. The Mercer family wanted me to disappear. They wanted me to stay in that basement forever, cleaning their toilets and accepting their scraps, grateful for whatever crumbs they threw my way. Instead, I walked into the light. I claimed my truth. I took back what was stolen from me. And I'll never let anyone make me feel worthless again. That's not revenge. That's justice. That's freedom. That's what happens when you stop accepting the lies and start demanding the truth. It took me 27 years to find my real family. But I found them.
Maggie.
Patricia. Myself. We're building something new. Something honest. Something real. And nobody can ever take that away from us.